Hey Hunters, it's Steve. So today I'm back with a brand new project. So today we have my cool, I don't know what to call him, radioactive worm guy. Maybe he's a snake. Not really sure, but he got into some chemicals and now he's running around killing scientists. So he's going to be part of my nuclear meltdown theme in my haunted walkthrough this year. So I'm going to have a scene with him in it and he's going to have killed a bunch of scientists and it's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to show you how I made him. So let's get started. And we're going to start off by using some gray Sculpey polymer clay. And I'm going to be forming the top jaw by making a triangle shape. And then I'm going to be adding teeth. And I used a piece of foil to texture the surface and ended up getting filled in with paint, so don't even bother. And then I'm just laying it on some foil balls so that I can stand it up to keep it in the shape that I want while it's baking. And next we're going to be making the bottom jaw. So I just mushed up the clay into some balls and then I'm going to flatten it out into another triangle shape, but I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than the top because I want his jaw to stick out a little more. And then I'm just going to thicken it up on the edges to form gums. And then I'm going to be rolling a tube and forming it into a forked tongue, kind of like a snake. And then I'm going to texture the inside, which makes no sense because the paint will fill it in. And then I'm going to be adding teeth around the outside. And then I'm going to be resting the piece on some foil supports to keep the tongue from breaking and to maintain a rounded shape. Then I'm going to make two foil balls. And then I'm going to be wrapping them in clay and smoothing them out to make two eyes. I was originally going to use a ping pong ball until I googled it and they're flammable, so don't bake a ping pong ball wrapped in clay. Bake some foil because foil doesn't explode. And then I'm going to be making a connecting piece for the eyes and filling it in kind of like where the bridge of the nose would be. And then I'm making some like thin long pieces to act as eyelids. And I let each piece bake at 375 for about 35 minutes, I believe. I'd probably bake them a little bit longer because they were still a little bit flexible. And next I mixed a pale yellow color for the eyes and I just painted that in. And I did that first so we can cover it up with darker colors around the eyelids. And I'm going to take a neon green color and I'm just going to paint the entire surface of the top jaw. I don't believe I painted the inside because you won't see it when he's at eye level once he's finished. And then I'm taking that same neon green and I'm just painting around the teeth and the tongue on the bottom piece and on his eyelids and the bridge of his nose. I added some more white to that pale yellow color to make a cream color for the teeth. And they look a little perfect, so we're going to grunge them up in a second. So I'm going to take a darker green color and I'm going to dab around the gums and around the edges of the teeth just to make it look like he needs to go to the dentist and he was chomping on some scientists. And then I'm going to use the same technique around the outside of his eyeballs just to give it a little bit more grunge, and I'm going to draw two lines for his pupils. And then I'm going to go in with some red. I don't believe it was glossy, although I should have used glossy. And then I kind of blended it in to make it look like a tongue. And I'm taking an 8-foot piece of corrugated tubing, and I'm just going to cut slits on either side so that the bottom rounded piece can lay flat. And then that's how we're going to glue our jaws on. So the tube is going to be the body. And I'm going to use Gorilla Glue on the plastic just because I couldn't think of anything else to bond it. So after I cut it to the right shape so it laid flat, I'm just going to drench it with Gorilla Glue, and then I'm going to clamp it with wood clamps to hold it in place while it dries. And I used the same technique on the top jaw, although it was much more tricky because it kept falling over. So just make sure you get something to support the clamps so that the whole thing doesn't topple over in the wind. And after that I glued on the eyes the same way, and then I'm just going to cut out some pieces of the tubing to make the edges of his jaw line up with where the tubing splits. And then I'm going to spray paint the entire thing white as a base coat. We're going to be painting him green and it won't really show up on the black, so I just wanted it to pop a little more. And we're going to be painting the top of his body in a light green color. I used a sponge brush because the pointed edge was actually the perfect shape to fit in all the grooves of the corrugated pipe. So one by one I painted each rib of the pipe, and I used a lot of paint so that the excess would kind of drip down towards the bottom, because I wasn't really worried about it looking neat. And for his underside, I'm using a different color green. It's more of like a yellowy green because I wanted some distinction between his belly and his back, and I just did that the same way. So now we're going to assemble the base. I'm recycling a round wooden base that I used previously. You can get them at Home Depot for like $7. And I'm using some angle brackets and a 2x4, and I'm just standing it up vertically. And I'm just using drywall screws to hold that together. And I'm just drilling some pilot holes in a piece of PVC, and then I'm using 2 drywall screws to secure it to the 2x4. And then I'm just going to use an angle piece and then a shorter piece of PVC sticking out of that, and that's kind of going to hold his head up straight. And I'm just using the cheap dollar paint at Home Depot to paint the whole thing black. And I'm just going to use some scissors and cut a hole out of the bottom for the PVC pipe to slip through. And he's basically just going to hang off the pipe. He doesn't really need to be secured all that much. So I'm just going to take that hole and I'm going to slip the snake over the pipe. So I'm just going to maneuver him the way I want, and then I'm going to secure him to the 2x4 with some zip ties. I linked 2 of them together in a chain, and I did that at his middle and then again towards the bottom, just for him to hold the shape and so he doesn't go anywhere. Then I'm just going to clip off the tabs. And I wrapped another zip tie around the one that was already there just to give it some extra strength and so that it wouldn't rock side to side. And I super glued his tongue back on because it broke while I was painting him. Then I'm just going to touch up with some paint closer to around his eyeballs just because I didn't want to get anything there. And I'm painting over some of the Gorilla Glue that leaked out just because it's like a weird yellow color that doesn't match the rest of him. And anywhere that I didn't end up painting before, I'm going to paint in now and just fill it in so he looks like one piece. And I'm just going to paint over the zip tie as well so that you don't see the black line over the green. And for the last step, I'm just going in with some pale yellow, and I'm just going to be painting spots on the back, and I'm going to be careful not to do it underneath the area that's intended to be his stomach. And I think it pulls the whole thing together and makes him look finished. And that wraps up another project. I think he came out awesome, especially since I'm not really used to molding things out of clay. I think his face came out really great. He's a really unique piece. I think he's going to look awesome under a black light, and I'm going to have a fog machine running through the tube, so he'll be breathing smoke, so to speak. And he'll be surrounded by dead scientists and just making a mess of stuff. So I'm excited to see how people react to him.
Hey Haunters, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, hit the subscribe button, even hit the notification bell if you're into that kind of thing. If you didn't like the video, don't tell me because it'll hurt my feelings. Okay, thanks, and happy haunting.